Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World Daily with me, John Jordan. So we have some nice financials from Animoca Brands. So this is interesting. Animoca Brands, massive blockchain game company, done loads of investments, basically sort of kickstarting, pretty much investing in the whole sector. But it's still it still has sort of public shares, even though it's sort of complicated. It's actually not on. It's not on a stock exchange at the moment. Long story, won't go into that now. But it was on the Australian Stock Exchange. So they still are. I don't think they have to do this. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it's like they're a public company and they're releasing their financials still. So these are unaudited. So no one's checked them from that point of view. But what is interesting to see is just how Animoca Brands has sort of ridden the sort of blockchain wave and how sort of value has accumulated in it. Because it wasn't that long ago. Animoca Brands was a pretty small mobile game publisher doing a lot of branded work, hence the name Animoca Brands. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but a couple of years ago, it had sort of revenue of millions of dollars a quarter, sort of thing, maybe $10-20 million a year on a good year. Whereas now this is for 9 months, so 3/4 of the year. We can see bookings are now up to $140 million, so that's sort of dollar bookings through its games and the NFT drops and basically the fiat, as we call the fiat currency, it's getting through creating games, and it still has some free-to-play mobile games, but mainly this is blockchain stuff now. So $140 million of bookings, basically income over the year. Other income includes gains on investment and digital assets, $530 million. So we can see at the moment, if you're sort of valuing Animoca Brands on sort of book value, then a lot more of the value increase of the last 9 months has come through the accumulation of crypto pricing, the accumulation of crypto tokens, blockchain tokens, and the increase in value of those. So what's the ratio there? Sort of 1 to 3, something like that, more than 1 to 3. So the money it's earned selling stuff compared to just what's happened with capital increasing. And cash balance has 36 million, and then it has $112 million of sort of classic crypto tokens, so Bitcoin, ETH, and some stable coins. So $50 million of cash, $112 million of crypto. So what's that? $162 million in sort of, we could consider cash. And then it has these tokens, which are sort of tokens of the projects that it's invested in. And then we're up to $456 million. So we can see every time we go down, there's another sort of massive increase. So bookings, pretty good for them historically. The income from just owning tokens is massive. Cash balance is sort of okay, but they're spending that. Got a bunch of sort of key crypto tokens, but their other assets are almost $500 million. And then when you look at the reserves, so the thing here that is reserves is different. Is some of these I think are these are third-party tokens, so these are ones that it owns from other sort of companies that it's invested in. So it's invested money and got tokens, but then it has its own reserves, which are its own tokens. So all these here, Sand Rev Tower, Gamee, all these ones are companies that Animoca Brands own. So it's looking there at the sort of the number of tokens it has, sort of total supply, and then they're up to $3 billion. So all these things, I guess are you start sort of losing focus on because the money gets so big, and it's broken down in such weird ways. But basically, we can say Animoca Brands, is getting on at $4 billion, I suppose, sort of market cap when you start adding up all these things. But the majority of that at the moment is not bookings, and I think that's always the thing with blockchain at the moment, blockchain games. There is revenue in there. People are generating millions of dollars a year through sort of token sales and NFT sales. We're not seeing a lot of sort of residual recurring revenue. They tend to be one-off sort of primary sales of assets, but the value people have is fairly enormous because people have these sort of reserves that they've had maybe for several years that have all sort of increased hundreds of percent in 2021. Also interesting to look here. So they've been raising a bunch of money in terms of kind of investment, so $56 million raised, and they're basically spending that as fast as possible. And if you look at the reserves of digital assets, actually valued at $16 billion. So I guess this is the end of September. So in the month difference. That's the end of November here, so that's 2 months difference, isn't it? So the price of some of these, I think we had, here we had 3 billion. I think this is what they're saying here. So that's the reserves have changed from $3 billion here to $16 billion. I mean, stuff like the Sand token price in particular has increased a lot. I think Tower has actually increased a lot. I'm not sure about Rev. But you can a whole bunch of these things. I mean, again, they can't liquidate this straight away, so it's not like money they can get their hands on. But it is sort of fascinating. And the stuff that's sort of fascinating here is the fact that the sort of the crypto world and the sort of fiat accounting world are sort of meeting and trying to make some sort of resolution between Animoca Brands, what it's actually worth, if as a sort of company in the fiat world, whereas what it's worth in the blockchain world is it owns a whole bunch of millions and millions of tokens, but the token values change a lot compared to dollars. So it's actually quite hard. You can imagine the accountants scratching their heads trying to do this sort of stuff. But headline stuff here. Animoca Brands are clearly doing very well. Clearly the work over the last sort of 3 years investing in these tokens and building out some of these products is paying off, at least in terms of its reserves. Obviously, it will be interesting to see over time. Look at the sort of booking. So some of these projects, particularly Sandbox, I suppose, when they're actually up and running, how much value is being created in those on a sort of more sort of traditional bookings value. People spending money to buy in-game items and people trading NFTs and Animoca Brands getting a sort of cut of that. So pretty fascinating stuff to see if, sort of under the hood of these sort of companies and get sort of an idea of where money is sitting and how it's flowing around. So anyway, that was interesting for me at least. Hope it's interesting for you. So thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel and see you again soon.